What is going on, guys, and welcome back to another video. Today is part 2 of the Toyota Supra fender flares. Last video we went ahead and sealed them up with Pour 15, so these guys are now officially dry. Overall, that doesn't look too bad, and it's at least going to be sealed. We're working with what we got with these fenders, and today we're going to just be mixing up some fiberglass and spreading it on those holes right up there and right back there. That way it's at least hardened and sealed. And then especially for up there, that is actually where the front of the fender flare mounts through that hole. So once we put the fiberglass down, drill a hole through it, and we'll be able to secure that fender flare better. So, like I said in the last video, the reason for not buying new fenders is because I don't really want to spend the money on getting them painted. And in two, finding those fenders used is probably not gonna happen. So, we got our old Bondo fiberglass resin and a container. So we're gonna go ahead, cut some sheets of fiberglass, mix it up, lay it down, let it harden, then we'll have to do another layer. So, and on both sides. So let's get to it. We got our sheet of fiberglass laid on that piece of fender, so we know exactly how big it needs to be. Now we're gonna just go ahead, mix up some of this resin and soak the cloth and get it all coated, and then we'll go ahead and just lay it down over that fender, and it's gonna have to sit for, it says 2 hours. So let's go ahead, mix up the solution and get it laid. Okay, so now that I have fiberglass all over my gloves and I can really only touch the button with the back of my thumb, I'm gonna have to do that exact process to the other side. And since that one the other fender doesn't have gaping holes like these two, that one's gonna be okay. And I'm not gonna need to do this. So I'm gonna go ahead, mix up another piece of fiberglass, because I think that piece I cut away right there is actually gonna fit over that hole perfectly. So I'm gonna go ahead, use that, and do the exact same process on that fender. So I got my gloves off and I can actually touch the camera again. So those two pieces are laid. They just need to dry now for 2 hours, and once they do that, they're gonna be good to go. I mean, I could spray on some rubberized undercoating on this side of the Supra, because I didn't get to do that yet. I think we might go ahead and spray this down with that. Alright, so this guy is all undercoated, and I figured might as well just do all the spots that already had it, because what's an extra little layer. And yeah, I enjoy how that looks a lot better than it was before that. So makes me feel good that it's protected and taken care of, and I won't have to worry about that anymore. So this front end should hopefully be going together within the next couple days. So we're just gonna have to wait for the fiberglass to dry on the fenders, and we'll come back when that dries in about 2 hours and put another coat on. All right, so it's been like 2 hours, and I actually just laid the second piece of fiberglass on both of these edges here. So hopefully that's gonna be enough to just preserve these fenders for, you know, the next couple years. And I mean, honestly, the plans with this car, not to be daily driven or, you know, see salt or snow or anything along those lines. Yeah, it's gonna see some rain. Yeah, it's gonna probably have to be driven in the rain. But honestly, with the conditions that the car saw its entire life, being daily driven for 35 years, I'm not really too worried about a little bit of rain. And if these fenders do eventually creep up the sides, then it's time to do something to replace them and fork over the cash and get them painted. But for now, honestly, I'm very, very happy with how these are coming out and how they're gonna come out. These guys are gonna have to dry. Once they're dried, I don't know if I'm gonna like mount them back on the car. There's really not anything else that is required. The only thing I need to do, which you can actually, when putting the fender flares back on, this trim is so hard and brittle because it's old, but you can actually buy new trim. So I'm gonna have to order that. I'll probably do it once I've finished recording today. Order that so then I can put the new trim around all the fenders, and then once that's done, I'll probably mount these back up. I need to source a new fog light because this one is toast and totally rusted out. And so I have one of these. I have the passenger side one. That one's good. So I'll source one of these guys on the Mark II Supra forums, get myself a new one of those, and then the front end will be able to go back together. Honestly, it could all go back together, and then I could just install that light after. So once these are dried, I'll shave off the fiberglass and mount the fenders back up, but I'm probably not gonna do that for a little while. I need to eventually work on these rears and that gas cap or the gas door corner right there. So this is next on the list, I think. I don't know. People say you should cut it and re-weld, but I'm not a welder. Probably gonna have to grind and Bondo and do my best, because I do have touch-up paint that my grandfather bought for this car. So I have the gray in a can and I have the blue in a can, and then the hatch, and then the gas tank down there. I still have a fueling issue I haven't gotten to yet. So once all that's done, the car could technically go back together and be pretty clean, but we'll see. It depends on the lengths I want to go. But for now, I think we're just gonna let this dry, and then once we give it probably 2 more hours to dry the new pieces of fiberglass, we're gonna come back, take a look at it, and that's gonna be pretty much where we're gonna stop. So let's see what this looks like in a couple hours.
2 hours later.
All right, so it's been some time, but here is the fiberglass. It is all hardened up. So this stuff's still, I guess, drying on the corner, but right here is looking good. So obviously all of this is gonna get trimmed off once it's completely hardened, but it ended up being good, and I'm very happy with how that's gonna end up working. Same with this side. This stuff is still a little damp to the touch, so we're waiting for that. But overall, that's a huge fix, and it's gonna be super beneficial for this car once we can get all these parts on. So hopefully in the next video we'll be able to start to work on the rear fenders and get those all squared away, because once these are taken care of, we can go ahead and actually put the fender flares back on. So that'll be a huge goal for me, to get that squared away and that over there. If you're curious to see how that turns out, please consider subscribing to the channel. It means the world, and it's super awesome to see a new subscriber notification pop up on the screen. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and as always, have an awesome day.